Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you're with me here today. Are you guys ready to rock and roll? Because that's exactly what we're going to be doing. I'm looking at two carbon-plated racing shoes, one by Saucony, which is the Endorphin Pro, and the other by Hoka, which is the Carbon X-SPE. The Carbon X-SPE has that Meta Rocker technology, while the Endorphin Pro has that speed roll technology. So we are literally going to be rocking and rolling today. Let's take them out for a run, and then we'll meet right back here and we'll talk about them in much greater detail. So let's start with the cost of the shoes. So looking at the price tag, both shoes cost $200 US. Now, looking at the weight of the shoes, the Saucony Endorphin Pro is quite a bit lighter than the Hoka Carbon X-SPE. It comes in at 7.5 ounces or 213 grams, while the Hoka, being a bit beefier, comes in at 8.8 ounces or 249 grams. So let's move on to the uppers on these shoes. We'll start with the Carbon X-SPE. Now you can see that this is a single layer mesh polyester upper. It's really comfortable, guys. It's found it to be lightweight, breathable out on my runs. I really enjoyed the upper on this shoe. It's very comfortable from the midfoot all the way back to the heel. I felt really secure and locked in the entire time that I was wearing it. Now let's just take a look at the Endorphin Pro. And this upper, although the Hoka Carbon X is lightweight and breathable, it pales in comparison to what Saucony's done with the Pro. This shoe is about as minimalistic as you can possibly get. It is the quintessential racing shoe. It is stripped down, lightweight, breathable. It's very comfortable. It hardly feels like you have a shoe on your foot when you're wearing it. And that's not an exaggeration. This shoe is super comfortable when it comes to that upper. Again, I felt pretty locked in this shoe as well from the midfoot back to the heel. So I've enjoyed both the uppers. I would say that if you're looking at durability, that the Carbon X-SPE is probably going to get the nod there. It is a bit beefier shoe all the way around. And you're going to find that to be the case as we look at these two shoes. That with that extra weight comes some extra durability. And you'll just see that as we go through, and we'll take a close look at both of these as we move along. Now looking at the eyelet chains on these shoes, you'll see that Hoka has a bit more plastic around that eyelet chain, probably more than what they really need. But still, it does a good job. It provides lots of durability. I don't think you're going to have any issue with your eyelets ripping out, anything along those lines. And it does a really good job of making you feel secure and locked in when you're running. Now, turning and looking at the Endorphin Pro, again, you'll see that they too have plastic up around their eyelet chain to provide a little extra durability. I think that's probably adequate. I don't think you need much more than what they added to it here. So I think that, again, they did a good job with that. Now let's take a look around the inside of the shoe, and you'll notice that the Carbon X-SPE is a booty construction, so they don't have a tongue per se. I really like this. It fit really well. I enjoyed just the comfort. I didn't have any issues, obviously, with a tongue that's moving around or bunching up, anything along those lines, because it is a booty fit to it. So I really enjoyed it. I like the way that that feels. Taking a look at the Endorphin Pro. Now they did a good job as well. It's a different style. Their tongue is really thin, lightweight. They do have it gusseted on both sides, so that certainly does help. I did have a little bit of an issue from time to time just putting the shoe on with it kind of bunching up a little bit, but heck, it'd only take a second or two to tug on it a little bit and get it to straighten out and lay flat on your foot, and then I was fine. I didn't have any issues while I was running, and that's probably the most important thing when it comes to that. Now let's look at the padding around the heel collar as well as the heel counter in these shoes. And we'll start with the Hoka SPE. You'll see that the padding is pretty minimal all the way around, but it was adequate. I always felt comfortable out on my runs. Now let's take a look at the Endorphin Pro, and you'll see that they did put a little extra cushion here. You'll notice that especially in that heel counter area along your Achilles, they added some padding there for some additional comfort, and I like that. Let's look at the heel counters on both of these shoes. With the Carbon X-SPE, you can see that they got that plastic overlay that goes around that heel area, and that gives it a very secure lockdown feeling. That's pretty stiff. Now taking a look at the Endorphin Pro, that's about as opposite of that as you can get. There's very little structure here. It's very minimal. It feels pretty light and airy underfoot, but still, having said that, I still felt pretty locked in with this shoe, so I didn't have any issues with it. Now let's take a look at the midsole on these shoes. We'll start with the Carbon X-SPE, and we'll begin with the stack height. It has 32 millimeters in the heel and 27 millimeters in the forefoot, so it has a 5 millimeter drop from the heel to the toe. The midsole is made up of two different kinds of foam. So that top layer is their PROFLY X foam, which is softer, bouncy feeling to it. And then underneath that is a more rigid or more durable EVA foam. Sandwiched in between there is an S-curve carbon fiber plate. And they use what they call their meta-rocker technology. And if you're not familiar with this, basically they started sculpting that foam and they placed that plate in a position so that right around the metatarsal head of your foot, so back quite a ways, almost really in your midfoot, did they start that curve. And so if you were just standing straight up in these shoes and you were to lean forward, you don't have to lean very far forward before that meta rocker before you want to just rock right forward. So much so that you might have to grab the wall in front of you, right? Because it just wants to take you through that foot strike. So that's their meta rocker technology. So let's look at the Endorphin Pro now. And again, we'll start with the stack height. It's got 33.5 millimeters in the heel and 25.5 in the forefoot. So it has an 8 millimeter drop from the heel to toe. It's made up of their PWRRUN PB based foam, and then sandwiched in there is their carbon fiber plate. All of those things put together, their PWRRUN foam, the shape of that foam, as well as that carbon fiber plate, all make up their speed roll technology. Now let's take a quick look at the outsole on both of these shoes, and then we'll talk about the performance and what it's like to run in them. We'll start with the Carbon X-SPE, and you'll notice that they simply have their EVA foam on that outsole. Along that middle section, so the midfoot, kind of back towards the heel, you'll see a diamond-shaped cutout, and you can actually see the carbon fiber plate in there. I think that this is going to be pretty durable. I've experienced this with Hoka in the past where they've had just EVA foam with no additional rubber on the outsole, and it's held up pretty well for me. So I don't think that durability is going to be an issue at all with this shoe. Now let's flip over and take a look at the Endorphin Pro. And you'll notice that they have their carbon rubber that goes back from the toe to the midfoot section area and then along the outside and along the heel area. They do have a little bit of exposed of their PWRRUN PB based foam there in the center. They too have a slight cutout, not nearly as deep as the one on the Hoka SPE. But overall, this shoe has held up pretty well. I think that carbon rubber on the outsole does a good job of protecting that PWRRUN PB based foam. So now let's talk about what it's like to run in these shoes. And first I'll just start with the Hoka Carbon X-SPE. That carbon fiber plate in that shoe isn't as stiff or doesn't feel as stiff to me as the one in the Endorphin Pro. Also, when I'm running, I feel like that Meta-Rocker technology that they have fits my gait cycle a little better. So my foot strike, my gait cycle, it all feels smooth. A little smoother than it does when I run in the Endorphin Pro. And it didn't matter what speed I was running at. The SPE just felt terrific the entire time. When we look at the Endorphin Pro, that carbon fiber plate, like I said, feels a little stiffer to me. So it's a little harder for me as a lighter runner to get the full effect of that carbon fiber plate. And their PB-based foam, their PWRRUN PB-based foam is more squishy. So you'll notice, and you can see it in the video of me running in these, just how quickly that foam collapses on every foot strike. Now, the upside to that is it also has a much quicker return. So you squish, but then you bounce up pretty quickly. Between the two shoes, I found the SPE to be a much more comfortable shoe for me to run in. It just fits my gait cycle better. But in terms of speed, the Endorphin Pro, to me, felt like a faster shoe. And when I've run in these shoes, I did put in a faster pace in the Endorphin Pro. So I really enjoy running in both of these shoes. I don't think that you can necessarily go wrong. I think the Carbon X-SPE is a bit more comfortable for me underfoot, but when you want to go fast and put in your best pace time, the Endorphin Pro might be the pick for you. Hey, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, maybe give it a thumbs up. As always, run tall, run strong, be kind to one another, and we'll see you next time.